Hi everyone, Mike Carlin here, Account Executive with Trend. You know what's happening with buyers in your market? How many times was your listing emailed and viewed compared to your competition? And on average, how many showings does it take for listings to sell in your market? These are interesting questions, and Trend's new performance reports offer answers, showing information about buyers, including the number of sent emails and the number of appointments. The performance reports consist of two report types, the listing performance report and the market performance report. You can access the market performance report on any member report in Trend through the performance report icon. If you're the listing agent, you'll be able to access the listing performance report through this same link. The listing performance report will include everything on the market performance report, but also compare it with information specific to your listing. So let's take a closer look. The listing performance report begins with the basic information about your listing, things like days on market, school district, MLS area, beds, and baths. So let's talk about the competitive market. The competitive market is defined as similar properties that are competing for the same buyers. These are listings all within a certain price point, area, and have the same minimum requirements on beds, baths, and property type. This is a new concept because it's not the same as a comparable property. This has less to do with matching specific details of a property and more to do with what a local buyer is considering when looking at homes. In this example, you can see that the price, beds, and baths are represented as a range. If you want to expand the competitive market or change the criteria that's being used, you can. Simply adjust and change the way the area, price, beds, baths, types, or ownership are defined. This is the competitive market activity section. In this example, you can see that in the last 4 weeks, 3 competitive properties have come on the market and 11 have either gone under contract, expired, or have been withdrawn. This kind of movement can create a great discussion with a seller who may think that the lack of interest on their house is a result of a slow market. As we continue to scroll down the report, we see the MLS appointment activity section. The blue bar represents the number of appointments your property has received, and the orange bar represents the average number of appointments in the competitive market. In this particular example, you can see that the blue bar is consistently showing less appointments than the orange bar. Maybe the seller in this situation didn't take your advice about sprucing up their landscaping, and that might be the cause of a smaller turnout in terms of showings. You can use this report to show the property is really not receiving the interest it deserves. The next chart in the appointment section is your listing appointments versus average appointments before contract. The blue bar represents your listing's total number of appointments, and the orange bar represents the average number of appointments before a competitive property sells. Now in this example, the subject property has already received more appointments than the competition typically sees before a sale. That could mean that it's priced too high or it's not showing well. You can use this graph to show a seller that in order to sell quickly, something needs to be done. Next, we see the MLS email activity section. This section is broken down into 2 parts. First, we have the Viewed Automatic Emails section. In this chart, the blue bars represent every automatic email that included your listing, in other words, something delivered via auto client match, and the orange bars represent the average number of automatic email that included a competitive property. You'll notice that there is a light blue section of the bar representing your listing. That section gives you the number of times your listing was the only listing in the automatic email. When we look at this example, we can see that in 2 of the weeks, there are a couple of spikes with emails. Let's assume that the listing agent and the seller agreed on a price reduction, and instead of reducing the price all at once, they staggered the decrease over several weeks to create more interest and activity. The listing agent could take this report back to the client and show how that decision to stagger the price change put the listing in front of more buyers. The other chart in the MLS email activity section is the Viewed Direct Email section. Direct emails occur when an agent runs a search directly, selects the property, and emails that property to a client. The blue bars in this chart again represent the number of times your listing was chosen by an agent and sent directly to a client. And the orange bars represent the average number of times competitive properties were chosen and sent to a client. You'll notice the light blue section of the bar again on this chart, representing when your listing was the only listing included in the email. This chart also shows some spikes in interest, which can be used to show your successful marketing efforts, or with the appointment chart to see how many of those emails resulted in an appointment. One of the great things about these new performance reports is that you can choose which sections you'd like to print or email for use with your client. If there's a section that you'd prefer not to share, simply uncheck that box and that section of the report will not be included. These performance reports are an exciting new offering from Trend for all of you to use with your clients. So take a look, test them out, and be sure to check out our other statistical reports available on the homepage. If you have any questions, just contact the support center or your friendly account executive.